Okay. Thank you very much for coming back, guys. Everybody fed? Everybody watered? Good. Any questions about our first part of this presentation?
No.
Sales management. Good. All clear. Good. I'm very happy with that. Next part, we're just going to do some developments. Leadership development. Okay? The most important part of leadership, what would you think that would be, Lindsay? Would you mind giving me an example if you have one?
To set a good example, to know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Leadership skills. Give me an example of some leadership skills. Throw some words on it.
Well, you've got leaders that can work, but you've got leaders on teams. You've got leaders in businesses.
Yeah.
Leaders of countries.
Yeah. What skills do they all have?
They've got listening skills. They're good at decision making.
Good.
They give instructions that people can follow and that people want to follow.
Very good.
They've got experience, and they share a common goal with the company that they're working for, or the team that they have. Like they're trying to achieve a common goal.
Yeah.
People want to follow them. People trust their decisions, so they naturally follow them.
Awesome. Beautiful. Oh, fantastic example. Scott, would you like to add anything to that?
I think Lindsay nailed it pretty much on the head. I think communication is a big key part of it. It's not just about being able to talk. It's about being able to give constructive feedback. It's be able to take constructive feedback. It's be able to listen with 2 ears and use just one mouth sometimes. And yeah, being able to present yourself in such a way where people will aspire to potentially want to be in your role, or will at least respect you for who you are and what you're looking to do for them as an individual and them as a team, and be able to outline what an overall goal or outcome is that you're looking to achieve.
Fantastic. I couldn't ask for any better examples than that. Thank you very much. The most important word that both of you said was communication. It's absolutely impossible to be a good leader if you don't have communication skills. And just like both of you said, communication is a two-way street. Okay? It's not just about articulating your words and sounding professional, it's about the ability to listen. It's about taking on board what people have to say to you and using that feedback and being able to give feedback in return so that it's constructive and we can all progress from it. It's simply impossible to become a great leader without being a great communicator. Think of any good leader. Give me an example of a leader in anything you like, Scott.
Oh, sorry, Jason. I was just having a mouthful or something.
Okay, sorry.
That caught me going. A good leader. As much as this is probably going to be a little bit out there, Hitler was a very good leader.
Yes.
Maybe not many people liked him, but my God, he had quite a following, and he was able to get huge amounts of numbers to get him to follow him and lead him the direction that he wanted to go.
Without a shadow of a doubt, it's a perfect example. People mightn't believe that, but Hitler was one of the most charismatic people in our times, or our past times. He was an unbelievable orator. He could speak beautifully. He could change any story to a positive effect. No matter how it turned out, the word propaganda was developed from the Germans at that time in the war. He had the ability to listen to the feedback that was given to him. He knew what the people wanted, and he gave them exactly what they wanted so that they would follow him. He knew that there was bad infrastructure. He knew there was no jobs. So he gave everybody jobs and paid them highly to build infrastructure in the country. He listened to the feedback, he used that to his advantage. An absolutely unbelievable communicator. And an awesome example, and a very interesting character as well, nonetheless. Maybe not one for the fitness role, an interesting character nonetheless. Lindsay, would you like to give us an example of a good leader?
JFK.
Yes, perfect.
I think everybody knows that he was a good communicator. He was able to talk, people listened to what he said. Most people will be familiar with hearing many of his speeches at some point or another on the radio or on the TV down through history because of how he used to communicate to a crowd and get people on side.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome, and that's In politics, you know, the ability to speak and listen as well is huge in politics. If we were to go to sports or the fitness industry, for example, Alex Ferguson would be my example of an amazing leader. He, from year to year and decade to decade, he actually used different squads and different players and made them leaders, changed the personalities of players so that they became leaders themselves. He had such a huge influence in everybody that they all grew together. Every one of them grew together. They either succeeded at the club or they moved on to other clubs and they succeeded there. There has managers that have come directly from his teams and they have been successful as managers as well. Influence, you know, everyone knows him all around the world, even though they mightn't necessarily know about soccer. The same for Richard Branson, as we discussed earlier, somebody who is at a level of leadership that most people could only wish to achieve. You know, people aspire to be like him. They listen to what he says and they listen to quotations from him, even though that they've never met him or never seen him in person, but they still listen to everything that he has to say and what he's achieved in business. If I were to think about sport, I think of a leader, not necessarily, you can lead yourself. I like people who can lead themselves. So I come from a rugby background, and one of my favourite rugby players is the captain of the Irish team. His name was Brian O'Driscoll. He was the best player on the team. He's probably the best player, centre to ever play rugby in the world, not just in Ireland. I might be biased, but Australians will agree with me, and New Zealand people will agree with me as well. Kiwis will tell you that Brian O'Driscoll would make the best All Blacks team that's ever been on the planet. So, you know, that's how talented the man was. But he didn't just lead from the front. He inspired those around him. He brought on players that without him would never have been the players that they were. He influenced them to an extent that they were a better player even when he wasn't on the field. Like, Ireland is now a successful team now that he's gone because he's produced and influenced all the players that are around him. Another good example would be communication skills of Floyd Mayweather, boxer, somebody who can't even read. He cannot even read, literally. But yet he has the ability to communicate and use words like we spoke about earlier on, like hard work, discipline, dedication. He preaches those and he's been successful by it. He has a status not far off Richard Branson. People aspire to do what he does. You know, he leads by example. He's come from absolutely nothing. He has no background, no education, and he's just made billions just from boxing. And he showed what he can do, and now he brings on other people. Now he's influenced other people. He's become a promoter. He brings on other people, and he's building a boxing industry where he has Money Mayweather Promotions, and he actually promotes other boxers. He doesn't even have to fight anymore. He's created a business from his name and his ability. So, understanding where people come from, we've had some quite diverse little selection of people there. We have Adolf Hitler, interesting, scary but interesting. Alex Ferguson, JFK, Richard Branson, Floyd Mayweather. Many different types of leaders. All similar traits, similar qualities, but the problem is all very different. All very different as well. So how do we actually figure out what type of people these are? How can we actually notice characteristics within their personalities that help us to achieve better communication with them, not just speaking to them, but also listening to them? So that's what we're going to do now. Disc analysis. Has anyone ever done a disc analysis?
No.
Have you ever done anything like a disc analysis?
I've done inside color profiling.
Color profiling. What is color profiling?
It's just getting a general idea of, like, you can do a quiz and then you generally find out where people fall. Like, some people might be red, so they're quite, you know, directive and straight to the point, or you might have like sunshine yellows or blues, which are, you know, they like structure and they're logical.
Numbers, mathematical, yeah.
Our greens, which, you know, have a lot of empathy, and then you talk about, you know, the strengths and the challenges for each one of those types, and then how they like to communicate to each other and how to communicate. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So what did you end up when you did it, if you don't mind me asking?
I was a green.
You were green.
Mm-hmm.
A heavy green?
Yeah, green yellow.
Have you ever done disc?
I believe it was disc I did a while back. It was a number of years ago, and I'm pretty sure it is this. And yeah, it's a matter of going through a questionnaire and trying to use I believe I had to put myself in a particular position, whether it's at work or at home and then choose that as my main focus as to how I was going to answer the questions, and then it came out with an outcome for me. And I think I was a DI back then.
Cool. It's not surprising in the role that you're in.
Yeah.
It's okay, yeah, it's cool. I've just given you the disc profiling, so how about we do one?
Oh, okay.
How about we do it? So I'll give you a quick explanation of how you do it. Going acrossways, so from left to right, you have 4 numbers. 4 is what you feel that you were the heaviest in. So if we were to take the top line, directing, influence, steady, cautious, if I were to fill that out, I would say directing, 3, influencing, 4, steady, 2, cautious, 1. That would be me, okay? So I'm looking for a 4, 3, 2, 1, or whatever order they need to be, left to right. When we're finished, we're going to add the columns coming down. Okay, so we work in rows and then we add the columns. Does that make sense, Lindsay?
Can you explain it to me again?
No, try not.
Okay.
So look, working from left to right in the rows.
Yeah, left to right, yeah.
So if you would say, in your case, you might be, which word would apply to you more clearly, do you think? Which is the most informative word for you there? Directing, influencing, steady, or cautious?
Well, if I said influencing.
So we would put a 4 in an influencing, okay?
Oh, just on that one, yeah?
Yeah. So what would be the next word that applies to you?
Under the next row?
No, in the same row.
Oh,
In the same row, so we now have directing, steady, and cautious left. In a row. A row is left to right.
I guess cautious?
Cautious, okay. So you now put 3 in cautious, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the next one that applies to you?
Oh, I get you. Yeah.
Okay, then we have a 2 and a 1. And then
Yeah.
we go to the next row. So give it a crack, get into it.
Okay.
And get you one down and we'll have a little look and we'll see where we're falling out. Scott, does that make sense?
It does. Can I just ask a question though?
Yeah.
It definitely looks like the same thing I did previously. So would you like us to base this around?
Just relax. Just shoot the breeze now and just think of those words and how, right now, just the present, how you feel now.
So, but based around like who we are like outside of work or
Yeah.
who we are in work?
Are you different personalities accordingly?
Yeah,
I would be.
Definitely?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. How about we do it outside of work?
Outside of
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's base it outside
Yeah.
of work and just see who we are. Right now, we'll just shoot the breeze with each other. Just write about how you feel right now, okay? Not about how it would be in work.
Sweet.
Everybody else is clear with that? Awesome. Thank you. How's that going for you? Good?
Mm-hmm.
Getting there? Scott is moving at pace. I love it. Good work.
Just trying to go off it. Is it best just to go off?
Just go
your
how you
initial
feel. Just
feeling?
go how you feel.
Yeah,
Go how you
sweet.
feel. You know. Sometimes when you're telling someone make a decision and they can't make a decision, and just tell them flip the coin. And let that coin not decide what it is, but how you feel after it lands on one of them. So heads I'm going to go and tails I won't, and then flip the coin and it comes up heads are going to go. Are you happy or are you sad? And you know the right one. You know what you want to do.
Awesome.
Good work, Lindsay. Thank you. Good work, guys. Well played. Once you have it done, then you total the columns. Columns is working down, so we have the first column all the way down. Beautiful. Scott, you're done. Tell me something about yourself.
Okay, right, so based on the information that I've got here, it seems that I'm falling quite heavily into the directing category.
Okay.
The category that I'm least is cautious.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much an even mix between the influencing and
Steadiness.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So D is high.
Yeah, I've got a 39 on that one.
Okay, cool. So types of personalities that are usually D, they are task focused. They are results orientated. They are impatient, which is not something I would apply to you, but maybe it might be true and you might be well able to camouflage it.
Good answer.
Yeah, well done. They are willing to get in trouble. Is that something that could apply to you?
Yeah, I guess I certainly wouldn't be too bothered if I got a rap on the wrist for something that I felt was right, or for the better good of something, if that makes sense.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's exactly it. So you can see, your first initial instinct always will lead you in the right direction when you're answering these questions. History of achievement. I have spoke to you on occasions, and would you be fair to say, you gave us a beautiful analogy of who you were earlier on, and it was a good story, so you have that. I think that would apply to you from my perspective. Good eye contact. You're proving that right now.
Yeah.
A maverick is a word that they use to describe it.
A maverick?
You know what a maverick is, yeah?
No, go on.
Maverick is someone that goes first, leads from the front, does something that hasn't been done before. So something that would be, they might do something innovative, or it might be entrepreneurial.
Yeah, I don't know if I fall under that category so much. I certainly don't mind leading from the front.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'd potentially be the one to come up with the goods as to the direction that we're going to go. Sometimes I like to have input from other areas to create something to move forward rather than just myself.
Yeah, okay, cool. Good. How they talk. Because there were things that heavy D's or high D's dominants tend to do. So how they talk is they ask questions. So they ask what questions? What is the most word? What are we going to be doing? It's the word that you usually. So it's very beneficial when we're doing the needs analysis. You can, the questions that they ask. So later on down the site, if it was an I, they'll say like who. I's would say who's going to be doing that? Who's going to be helping me? Whereas the reds will always say, sorry, red, not it's a red, but it's actually a D. The D's will always say what? What do we have to achieve? What has to be done? What methods are we going to use? What's the process? Tells versus asks. Would you feel that's fair for you, Paul? You can balance it though. I've seen you balance it.
Yeah, I think based on where I'm at the moment within my role, I feel like I need to earn permission from my team before I start becoming more to directing. So I can be directing, but I want to have an input first from the guys and make sure they feel they're part of the team, so they have buy-in first before that happens. So yeah, I guess so, but I'm also aware of how and when I use it.
Experiences around that. Good. Okay. I wonder if we were to do this 10 years ago, how
I'd be very different. Yeah, I reckon.
Authoritative tone of voice. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I think so. Use acronyms in short sentences. So I know that I'm a D, and that definitely applies to me. A lot of these do as well. Open with opinions. So open with opinions, especially, definitely I've seen you doing it. Because I've seen you in a short time I know you, and you're very open to other people's ideas and suggestions. Yeah. So what if you were to try to manage a D? What would you think the best way of managing a D would be? If you encountered a D in work, what would be the best way? Which, say you're managing a me, how would that work?
Not be too fluffy with you. You're going to get pissed off with that. Be direct, listen to your question and give you an answer back where you're not having to hear a story. Yeah, I think directive's the key on that one.
Awesome. Yeah. And other ways you can help them is the body language, which is something you are very good with. Body language is always a good one when dealing with these, just to be very relaxed and very open. Something that Lindsay's quite strong with as well. Just letting them, and letting them say what they might have much to say because it'll be short, but making sure that you're present in the moment.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Lindsay, how did you go?
I think I'm almost.
So you're nearly there. We'll have a bit more time.
Show me.
What do D's like from others? We'll discuss what D. Scott, we'll stick with Scott. Give you a chance.
I just need some help with actually figuring out what I should do.
Really?
Where do I start?
Don't worry about that. It's okay. I'm still worried about here. That's just making it complicated. So influencing, steady. Wow. Influencing, steady, and cautious are nearly all equal. Really good. Really good. That's different. That's different. Are you cautious?
Yeah, I'm cautious.
You're cautious.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
Give an example of how you're cautious.
Maybe outside of oh well, I was kind of when I started that I started answering as if I was in work, like making decisions and things like that, and then I started answering more about who I am normally. I'd probably take more risks outside of work than I would in work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess like I would think twice before making decisions. Like I think things through. I talk things through with my family.
Yeah, you're conscientious towards other people as well. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I do. I don't just ever like just barge in and just start doing things. Like I like to talk about things. I like to dissect things. I like to think about stuff a lot. You know, I like to research things, be it a diet or writing a program, or you know, I like to read up on things. I would say I like to be informed about stuff.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's important to know yourself first, the type of person that you are, so
Yeah.
then you can help when you're managing those people. So if you were managing someone that was conscientious or C, how would you manage them?
Managing so well, you know, giving people information. I mean, I know it always frustrates me if someone hasn't given me, you know, if I don't know why decisions are being made, or if I don't feel like I'm included in like the thought process into why we do what we do. Like I like to be informed of the decisions, and I like to have input on things, and I like to have information. And if someone tells me that this is why we have to do something, I like to be included as to why it is that they came to that decision.
Yeah, beautiful. So you like to have clear expectations for what needs to be done.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I want
then
to know what's expected of me.
when you're managing them, you can then, would it be fair to say that you can then make sure that they know what the expectations are, how their day is going to be planned, what they have to achieve, and what will be the outcome when it's achieved, yeah?
Yeah, and it's important for me to know that the person who's making decisions or who's providing training or information, that, you know, I want to know where they got their information from and why we're listening to their point of view as well.
Perfect, yeah. And you're very tactful. I know you as a person, you're very tactful in what you say, so the same applies when you're managing other people. Very careful of what words that you use. Your choice of words is very important. Again, your body language has to be very open, okay, and using the correct scripts in your approach to people, asking questions. I see you will always ask questions like why. Why is the word, you know, that you'll always hear them use. So be precise and be focused. They unfortunately C's can have a tendency to not be great with time management. So you have to really be focused and keep track of what you're doing yourself, and also if you're managing them, you have to then focus on what they're doing, set them clear objectives within a certain time frame so that it's measurable and attainable. We know all about SMART goals. It's very important to do that with the C personalities. Would you agree? Is there a C personality that you've worked with?
Yeah. Well, I used to be have an awful, I guess what you could say it's similar to like what the blue colour profiling is. I used to be very like that at all, you know, and then I became a little bit more like that throughout time because I had to work on it a little bit more. But I remember I used to pride myself on being a caring person, having empathy. But I had a receptionist a few years ago who was amazing, Novi, when I worked in the city, and for me, I used to just rock up and, you know, I'd say we'll do our meeting at 11 and you can have your break at 11:30. But then, you know, other things would happen and get in the way, and there'd be other staff and things to do with members, and it used to really unmotivate her because her break didn't come at 11:30 every morning, and I used to think, what's, you know, 5 minutes? But to her, because she was very strong, like really, really strong, she didn't have really any other, she wasn't a D or an I or an S, like she was just a C, and it used to really upset her that, you know, that time used to be, that would ruin her day. Like she wouldn't smile at people, she wouldn't I didn't realise how much I was impacting her day by one small detail, but it was really important to her.
Good, and you learn from it. I love it.
Mm.
It's awesome. And recognising it. So it's beneficial for us to do this, to be aware of it, but to communicate with other people is so important.
Mm.
So you'll obviously, you know yourself, there'll be little need to be with others. Conscientious people tend to work well on their own. So for example, Dion would be a high C. She'll be inside her office all the time, happy to be in there. You, although you like to be out and about the club, a lot of the time is in your office working, getting activities done.
Yeah.
You know. Discomfort with ambiguity. So vague information, you know, unsure, not something when it's not clear and precise. People can get a little frustrated, which would be a pretty adequate description of your personality from what I know.
would leave.
You.
If I didn't have answers.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I hear you. And if you were dealing with Scott, so if Scott is a red, so Scott, sorry, a D. If Scott is a D, how would you go about managing D?
Well, I guess I struggled when I first became a manager years ago because I didn't have an awful lot of D personality traits at all, especially in work. So for me, I had to manage a lot of red, so or D personality types. Being in the fitness industry, where we attract a lot of D and we have a lot of dominance, and I wouldn't be able to get to the point quick enough for them. Or I found that, you know, people would walk all over me because I was very much so, yeah, I want to keep the peace, like I'll do it, like it's just easier not have an argument, and therefore I probably wouldn't be getting the best out of people, and how I would prescribe training and etc. probably wouldn't be as clear as it needed to be. Whereas, you know, and I guess that was because I wasn't comfortable giving direction or being bossy. I like to coach people and let them come to their own conclusion.
Yes.
But as a result of that, I wasn't really getting the best out of the D type style personality. So if I was managing one of them now, and like I do now, I've become very comfortable. Now I can just get to the point and say, right, this needs to be done by 2 o'clock. This is how I'm going to do it. Any questions?
And you've managed Ds. Who's a D you've managed here?
A lot of Ds. So
Give me an example of one that's still here right now.
a D that's still be here would be Kat. She would be our sales manager.
Yeah.
Kat likes to she likes to just know what it is that she needs to do. She's very results driven, very target driven.
Yeah.
So she just wants to get the job done.
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. That's awesome, that's a perfect example. I've actually done this myself a couple of times, and mine has changed. Now I'm actually pretty spread even.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a D anymore. I've changed a lot over time. I've done this a couple of years ago and would have been a heavy D, as you know, you did it with me, and now I'm pretty, it's not split 25 across the board, but it's not much in the difference. So I become a high C myself, you know, so the ability to listen and understand. If you were to manage a D, it'd be very important that they know what their results are and they know what their rewards are. Everything good with Kat?
Yeah, all good, thanks, mate.
They know what their results are and they know what the outcomes are. That's the most important part of it. People are different. If you had to manage someone that was like we didn't have influencing, strangely enough, you're DI.
I was, yeah. I was predominantly D, but actually fairly closely aligned with IS, in fact, which I found a little odd.
Yeah. Well, D is the opposite of S, and I is the opposite of C.
Mm.
That's the way they work.
Well,
You know?
I used to be an IS years ago when I did this.
Yeah, and we've all changed. It's
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
and you do
Yeah.
change accordingly. Like I was just saying to Lindsay that mine have changed. That I'm not equal split. I mean, I'm not 25 by 4, but it's not far off it. It used to be heavy D and heavy I, and then again it changed to heavy D, heavy C, conscientious. But now it's just basically it's nearly 25 across the board for all of it. I've changed an awful lot in the way I am, and my behaviour will change around the people that I am once I recognise what they are. I
Yeah.
usually meet them. I usually come to an even keel with them, which is what needs to be done. Because you're dealing with a red personality, you need to be the boss sometimes. But they need to know that there's a reward at the end of it, and they do know what they are doing. What are they doing? You tell them what they're doing, and then tell them what the outcomes and what the results are. And if you're dealing with someone that's agreeing, you're like, why are we doing this? This is why you're doing it. This is what's going to happen while we're doing it, and it's going to be awesome, and everyone's going to be involved. It's going to be a team player.
They get bored as well. You know, Ds get very bored and they get restless. and they need to be challenged. So you'll often find if you don't like vary the work or you know, get the competition going, that they'll get bored and they can often leave you as well.
Yeah, let's shoot through a couple of other examples of what we do. So how can we use that to manage our team more efficiently? Well, you've stated it all already. You've said that you've already managed them. You've already identified the type of people they are, and you can get the best results out of your team. Help them stay motivated, help them stay positive by meeting them on the level they need to be working at.
But also, if you're a D and you've hired someone who's like really strong, let's say a really strong S, and they might want to maybe just get into the health and fitness industry because they want to help change people's lives, or you know, do like work in a positive environment,
Yeah.
and they love talking to people and listening to people. And if you keep talking to them about, you know, competition and being number one and everything like that, then that person might close off and they might not want to think that they have a place in a sales team. And also, if you are a very strong D, you won't understand why that person isn't excited by the things that you're trying to excite them by, because they just want to talk to people and listen to people and try help people have a better, healthier life.
Awesome, thank you, making my job very easy, Lindsay. Thank you. You're explaining it for me. Perfect. That's exactly what it is. I appreciate that. That's a perfect example, because we're all driven by different motives, and making sure we understand what they are. Again, we are in a results-based industry. We need to know what to get us there. That's a perfect example. Thank you. So we can bring that back these to our club and implement it in our club. I've given you enough sheets. Take it back. Do it with your team. Do it with your sales team. Sit down. Get them, explain it to them. Do this little presentation with them. Explain what they are. You know, so they understand themselves and how they communicate, and it'll help them work more efficiently with each other, and also help them do a better needs analysis when they're trying out new members. It's a brilliant way of associate, figuring out on the needs analysis. When some of the people try and be a D with someone, try and tell them they should join, that's not going to work with some people you have. And that's why you're always very effective as an MC. You made people, a lot of people that will come in will be conscientious and they will be steady. You know, that's about 70% of the people, you know. Not everyone, we're all in the managerial roles because we are DIs originally. We might have changed a little bit, but we were heavy DIs. The rest, about 70% of the people are actually S and C. So if you can apply to them and just be relaxed and be calm and communicate effectively and make people feel comfortable and wanted and part of the team, you'll always win. You'll always have a win. You'll always actually succeed in what you're trying to do. So bring those back, make sure we do them, and we'll check base again soon. We're actually after covering a lot of these, but let's just shoot through. So if you were to, in regards to the traits that people have, they have dominance, busy and fearless, goal setting. Would you like to have your goal setting done individually, one-on-one, or would you like to do it as part of a team?
Oh yeah, no, definitely individually. Yeah, for sure.
So it definitely applies. Examples of a D that works with us, Lindsay.
An example would be maybe my sales manager, Kat,
Yeah.
or
Again,
membership consultant.
driven by tasks, just mark plans for a day effectively in early, and then just draws a line through everything as it gets done. Can't understand why other people aren't working in the same process. Yeah, heavily. If you give her feedback, positive feedback, it's has to be public for Kat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she wants that public. Why? Why does she want it to be public?
She likes recognition, and she wants people to know that she's best, because she wants to be number one and she wants people to know it.
Exactly. And if we were dealing with a conscientious or cautious person, where would they like to receive the feedback?
In private.
Yeah. In both cases.
Yeah.
In both cases. Because they are not really too worried about other people. They're happy to get the feedback. It might, in regards to someone that's conscientious, when you give them positive feedback, it's nearly better to give it to them in private, to let them know that you're my number one player, that you're one of the best people I have on the team, and it's absolutely awesome that I have you in control of that sales team. I appreciate it. And then go out and then play normal outside, and that no one even knows it happens. It's amazing like that. Whereas when you're dealing with a red, they love everyone else to know that it happened. It's important. They want that chain email sent out. Office space, you can see it again, you can see how people work. You can see people by their diaries. When you walk into the call centre, you can see if they have a diary on their desk, first of all, what type they are, and then if in their diary, how their diary is planned. If you flick through a few pages, do they plan daily? Do they plan hourly? Do they plan weekly? You can see how their day plans out. An MC will always plan for either that day or the day ahead. It's either an A1 or an A2. Sales managers plan weekly. Club managers, monthly. State managers, quarterly. CEOs, 5 years. You can see these types of people that they are. You can walk in all the right type of personalities. If you walk to Dean's office, if you walk into Zoe's office, go over to Subiaco, walk into Zoe, what category would you think Zoe would fall into?
I'm thinking maybe like an I or maybe an S.
Perfect. Exactly. That's exactly what she's very organised. You walk into her office, every particular item has its own place in her office. She's very aware of what other people's feelings
Her
and very of her
door's
own.
open.
Yeah, always, exactly. You know, and she likes, you know, she likes people to recognise her competence, but she's not too worried. You know, she's not too worried by it. You know, she's literally like, you know, she gives feedback. This one is a good indicator as well, you know, where people like negative feedback. Now again, it's not always, it's not 100% across the board accurate, because if you give negative feedback to Kat in public,
It's okay if it's justified.
yeah.
If you explain why and if you give it in the right way. But if you don't
Which is
give it in
knowing
the
your
right
scripts,
way, yeah.
which is being an effective manager.
Yeah,
That's
but if
exactly
you
what
don't
that
know
is.
how to give her feedback and if you can't justify why you're giving that feedback, or if there's any gaps in why you're giving that feedback, or if you might be a little bit wrong, then get ready for her to give you negative
Yeah.
feedback in public.
Exactly, be prepared.
Yeah.
Retribution. Example, Scott, give us an example of someone that you've dealt with since you started with Good Life that's an I.
That's an I. I would say FD wise, I would definitely say that is Leanne at Bibber Lake.
Yeah.
Me managing an I find quite tedious and hard sometimes, and that's something I have to be really, really aware of. Sometimes I like to, or most of the time, I like to get quite, direct to the point. I have a goal, I have a reason for a conversation, and I have to make sure that I make time for that small talk and have a little bit of a laugh previous to actually getting stuck into nitty-gritty. However, when I do start getting to nitty-gritty sometimes, that I just wants to keep getting out of control and having a laugh, and that's when I find that sometimes challenging,
Yeah.
where I just want to say, zip it, sit down, let's crack on.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'd say certainly Leanne is the bigger I in the group at the moment.
And is there lots of D's?
Plenty of D's, yeah, plenty of D's, certainly. I would have certainly had yourself in a D category majority. I was fairly surprised to hear that you're 25 across the board, but I can also understand.
Hanging around with a lot of female staff as well.
Absolutely,
That, yeah.
absolutely. And as you said, over time, you realise where you have to change and adapt your managing style, and so that doesn't surprise me to a degree either. But yeah, you certainly got your Brookses, your Shanes, your Kyles. Those guys are fairly big Ds.
Definitely. What about conscientious? Have we any FDs that are conscientious?
I would say. Not many, no.
You'll have them.
Not many.
Shane might be a little bit.
Yeah, I was.
He likes processes.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
And think of it. How much do I know about people in my club? Like no matter whether it's a reception or a sales team or my FDs, I'm always prepared to listen to them. I have a good ear, which is a vital part of it. Shane is the very same.
Mm.
How often does Shane's phone ringing in from different people from Brooksy, maybe from yourself? At the
Yeah,
start?
that's right.
No,
absolutely.
Paresh is a C to an extent. He likes processes.
Oh,
Okay.
he likes he would be definitely an S.
He's very steady, but he's a C as well because he's a good guy to listen and he'll
Very
give you that
controlled
feedback. But that's why I said it's not always.
Yeah.
You can only apply that template in proportion. It's
Shane.
not 100%. Yeah, it's not. So you'll find it when I definitely say Shane, like in regards to I hear him, people communicate with him, I can see his relationships with different people.
Yeah.
To an extent.
I'd agree
But
with
it's
that.
But FD, that's there for a reason. An MC. Okay? Sales manager should be in there as well. Okay? MC again, reception. Reception. I got Jess that you want. Okay? 36, 15. Okay?
Well, that's
You know?
where I was when I started off years ago, because I
So-
started off with airlines and service and passengers and then
Oh,
customer
sure.
service and receptions. That's
Yeah.
obviously it's changed
Exactly.
over time.
And Jess has no care of why we're doing it or what the results are going to be. Or she's like, well, I do it. Yeah, who do I ring? When do I ring him? Okay, how often? Okay, no worries. Done. You know? And then you'll see that these people come in here and CSM. But again, it's not everyone is in the right role. Not everyone knows the role for them. We're all only on a journey, so you don't necessarily find the right role. So there might be a certain role aligned with a certain type of personality, but they just have found it yet. How many different roles have you done through the years?
Yeah, done a fair few. Yeah, for sure.
Some of you. I haven't only done one within the fitness industry so far, so one managerial role, but you've had customer care, customer,